What's going on, everybody? Doc, Average Gamer Guys, back yet again. More Escape from Tarkov action. Jumping into another Teaching Tarkov video, this time focused on suppressors. We are going to go over every class of suppressor, and I'm going to talk about what I think, based on my criteria, which I'll jump into at the beginning, is probably the best in slot for what you're going to want to do. Now, I'm going to say up front, there are a lot of different ways to balance out a suppressor. There are a ton of new and additional stats, especially in 12.12, that have been added, specifically heat, cooling, durability burn, and a few other things that definitely play into this. But I'm going to jump in. I hope this to be a relatively definitive guide. I am going to link in the description below and probably pin a comment to each of the specific classifications of suppressor. That way, if you want to look for a specific one, let's say 9mm or 545 by 39, you can jump straight to that section and go over them. I'm going to just generally cover most and then give you again my top pick for that class of suppressor. So without further ado, let's jump in. Let's talk some suppressors. Okay, a couple of notes up front about suppressors. Like I said at the very intro to this, there is a lot of different ways that you could base each of these respective silencers and suppressors off and categorize them, especially with 12.12. Let me just I'll pull up the Omega 45. This is a pretty good example of a suppressor here with a lot of statistics, and I'll try to make these as big as I can as we go here. So what you're looking for, and there's again a couple of different things. I'm going to say for my criteria specifically, I looked at really three main categories. Not that the other components aren't important, especially when you start talking about certain types of weapons. Your higher firing rate, like bigger magazine capacity, suppressors, silencers, and their respective muzzle brakes. It's probably important to pay attention to things like durability burn and heat, as well as cooling. This one doesn't have one, but there is a cooling statistic as well, because that is going to impact essentially the functionality of the weapon in the raid. I didn't necessarily take those statistics in consideration when setting this up as far as my picks. What I instead focused on are three, what I would call the top three categories. Accuracy, either additions or penalties, and you're going to see that as we go through these. Recoil, how much recoil reduction are you getting from the sound suppressor or the silencer? And then ergonomics. When it really comes down to how these affect your weapon, ergonomics, accuracy, and recoil are the three biggest things. It's hard to rank those amongst each other. I would say accuracy and recoil probably are a lot more important than ergonomics. Just as a general statement about all of these suppressors, anytime you throw this onto the barrel of your gun, you're going to lose ergonomics, and a pretty large chunk. We're talking anywhere from 15 to 20, upwards of 26, 28 points, depending on the caliber and the suppressor that you're using. So ergonomics is always going to get hurt, especially comparative to just a muzzle brake or a flash hider, different options that you have without throwing the additional suppressor on top of it. So really when it boils down to that, I'm really looking at accuracy and recoil. We want to make sure if we get any kind of accuracy boost, that's certainly a benefit to the overall weapon platform. In addition, especially with the changes to recoil patterns in 12.12, recoil stands out to be probably the biggest factor that we want to look at. However, like I said, as we go through these, you'll see that there are some that have a little bit better recoil reduction, but have an accuracy penalty, and I may rank that suppressor above another one in a combination of those two. So I wanted to cover that up front, and hopefully that's helpful when you look at this. One last category that probably doesn't get talked about enough, but is very important, especially when you consider what this is actually intended to do, is loudness. So how much it decreases the actual audible noise, and there's a whole bunch of other stats that go into that. But just general loudness is something to also pay attention to. In general, you should be using this in order to get quieter shots off that make you harder to spot, harder to locate in on, especially with the use of skills like perception, which can be extremely valuable. A suppressor is a good way, if you're engaging a target, to be able to kind of mask that. If you've ever been playing woods or shoreline or lighthouse and gotten shot at from a suppressed weapon versus an unsuppressed weapon, let's take an M700 for example, it's a lot easier to pinpoint where did that shot come from if it's not suppressed versus if it is. And the loudness of that suppressor, as you'll see, there are varying degrees of how well these do that respectively in the game. So keeping that in mind, although again, not really one of the statistics I use to base off the decision, but if you'd like to, certainly something that you can take a look at. I want to say up front here, I have a whole lot of suppressors. This is going to be a long video. I'm going to again break it down. I'll throw a pin in the comments down below for each of the respective categories and calibers. That way you can jump to one if you're looking for a specific one. There are a whole ton of suppressors in this game that are either weapon specific or for one very, very specific, really weapon specific is the best way to describe them. I have them laid out here. You have things like the G28, HK G28 B&T QD 762x51 sound suppressor. Okay, this is only going to fit on the G28. It's a great suppressor. It might line up with some of these other in that respective category. I don't take that into consideration when ranking these because I want to basically rank and show you what the options are comparative to the other suppressors that you can then subsequently throw on that weapon. So going weapon specific would have been too difficult for this video. So do keep in mind if you're in your weapon builds and you're messing around with just trying to get the most meta build and you stumble across a suppressor that I did not cover, please note that it's probably weapon specific and I didn't include it in this kind of categorization. And hopefully you understand that would have made this video really, really difficult and really, really long if I would have jumped into that, because then essentially we're breaking it down by weapon, and instead I want to break it down by class category, by caliber. Hopefully that makes sense. So you got your G28, you've got your things like your Glock Fisher suppressor here, your Omega 45. Hopefully at some point this goes on some different things, but this is going to be 45 specific, and I think it's the only 45 suppressor we got. You've got your MP9 sound suppressor here, which fits your two MP9s. Very good 9mm suppressor, but again, only specific to that. Those familiar, rocking the Rotex. This is for your MP7s, which is really nice. You've got your 5.7 sound suppressor, which is really solid. You've got your ump suppressor, which is also really, really good. But again, this is only going to fit the H&K ump, so please keep that in mind. In addition, you have your 7.62x39 Hexagon SKS sound suppressor. So this is SKS specific, both variations of that. Got your PL15 sound suppressor. There's a whole bunch. You've got this Roto for 366. You've got this Rotor 43, which is going to be for your SVDs. This is for your PP19. You've got your MPX integrated sound suppressor. There's a few more that I did not include. You've got your Alpha 9, which actually I think can fit on a couple of different pistols, but obviously not on any of the larger caliber of weapons. So anything in this category here, please just keep in mind they are either weapon or only a few specific instances which you can use those. So let's jump into the main categories here and get rocking and rolling here. I'm going to first start with 5.45 by 39. I should also note that some of these, as you're going to see, require a specific muzzle brake. So when you take a look at the suppressor itself and its statistics here are important to note. They may not be best in slot when you compare simply just the suppressors. When in combination with that respective muzzle brake, you're getting those additional points of recoil, points of ergonomics, muzzle velocity, heat, all of those other additional categories of stats. You really have to combine those two together to get a good picture at this sound suppressor. And the first one we're going to talk about in the 5.45-39, Hexagon, Reactor, and Waffle Maker. That is the respective muzzle brake and sound suppressor combo that goes together that then allows you to attach it to the barrels and those respective weapons. So as we go through this, as I jump into this first one, I'm also going to talk about price, where you can purchase these, where the best place to purchase them is, and I'll flash that down hopefully on the screen below so that you can use that. The Waffle Maker, if you've been playing this game at all, you know is by far and above the best 5.45 by 39 sound suppressor that we have in the game when it's coupled with this reactor muzzle brake. Reactor muzzle brake really makes this thing solid. Reactor muzzle brake is a very good muzzle brake if you're just looking for muzzle brakes for your AKs. It's a very good choice. Might not be best in slot, but it is dang close. The nice part here is you get a total of 17 plus an additional 7 points of recoil. Again, when this stacks up, Waffle Maker not so great by itself. The rest of the 545 by 39 sound suppressors though don't have a muzzle brake attachment, which makes this certainly more expensive, but also then helps it be a whole lot better, which is why you see people rocking this thing. So you get a total of 24 recoil reduction. You do lose 20 ergonomics, which isn't so terrible. You get some additional cooling, and actually the muzzle brake actually helps with a little bit of the heat that's included. But this one, the Waffle Maker, is by far the best. You can pick up the reactor muzzle brake for mechanic at level 3, so if you're looking for that, that's pretty good. That comes in at 12,365 rubles as of the recording of this video, I should say. This is all pertinent to 12.12, most recent patch. Values may adjust a little bit, so please keep that in mind. The Waffle Maker itself is one of the most, if not probably the most expensive sound suppressor in this whole, out of every single category, I think, or it's very close. You can pick this up for mechanic level 4 for a whopping 138,320 rubles. I definitely recommend, if you're looking to pick up the Waffle Maker, look for this on the flea. Typically sells a little bit cheaper than that, and these will go up. If you end up finding one of these in raid, stick it in your container, it's probably worth hanging on to. But this is a really solid combo. Kind of the honorable mention after this in this category is actually going to be your PBS4. So pretty good recoil reduction at 10. You do lose 25 ergonomics. This is a little bit quieter in respect to the Waffle Maker, and not bad overall. But this is a really good secondary option, and certainly the best out of the remainders that we have here. And you have the PBS4, you have the hexagon that you can throw in, and then you have the TGPA. I was going to struggle with that one. And you can see kind of how these stack up. The reason that the TPGA actually gets a lower kind of count for me in comparison is because of the accuracy penalty. With the hexagon and the TPGA, you get accuracy reductions. This is a little bit, TPGA is a little bit better than your hexagon in recoil reduction, but suffers a little bit more for ergonomics. So again, you got to balance these. These three are direct attachment to the barrel, so you don't need any kind of muzzle brake, and you should be able to rock and roll. These are good, probably more budget options if you're looking for something, and you can see the comparisons. But again, PBS4 definitely takes the cake. No accuracy penalty, ergonomics not great, but you get 10 recoil as well. So pretty solid overall. Got some good options for 545 by 39. Now 762 by 51. I am gonna say, in addition to this, as we jump into this category, I have some multi-caliber ones which we're gonna finish the video with. So this is gonna be in comparison to just those in that specific category. Keep in mind that you may want to base this off of and jump over to the multi-caliber version of this video as well to do some side-by-side comparison. I will tell you in general though, they're going to be pretty comparable whether you take the best in slot for that specific caliber, and you're going to see that with the multi-caliber you can do basically 7.62 by 5.1 down to 5.56. You have some pretty good options inside of there. They're pretty comparable between the top pick and those multi-caliber, so please keep that in mind. But let's jump into 7.62 by 5.1. By far away and above is going to be, if I can get it up here, is your 6-hour SRD 7.62. Now it does require a muzzle adapter that has no statistics, so please do keep that in mind. I'll throw that up here just so you know that you got to buy 3. But where this really shines in comparison to just basically the straight bolt-on version, if you will, is that you get this 2-port brake. 2-port brake, you can pick this up. So I should quickly say, the T-lock muzzle adapter here, which is behind this, you can pick up from Skier at level 3 for 48.65 rubles. The 2-port brake, which is a pretty solid brake overall for the 7.62, you can pick that up from Peacekeeper level 3 for 54 US dollars. Ooh, excuse me. And then you jump into the sound suppressor, which is the SRD 7.62 QD. Keep this in mind. This is very close to this one. This one is the TI, this is the QD, so please keep that in mind. You can pick this QD up from Peacekeeper at level 4 for $500 US dollars. This is just by far and away the best in class. From a recoil reduction, basically you're getting a total of 21 recoil reduction. You lose 25 ergonomics in the process, but you gain a nice 2% accuracy boost. In addition to that, you get a little bit of muzzle velocity, which is also good. Your burn, your cooling, all pretty good statistics across the board. But this one is definitely by far and away, like I said, the best when it comes to in slot for that 21 recoil reduction. Now, a close second here is going to be the QDC, the PRS QDC, KAC. If you're looking for these, again, it does have a muzzle brake attachment. You're getting a nice 13% and then subsequently 12% recoil reduction. So a little bit better recoil reduction. Accuracy, you gain a point. 24 ergonomics. I would say both of these are pretty similar, like you can see. So I would give you the option, or you take the choice when you're looking at building this. I do think the SRD is a little bit more accessible than this, but both are pretty good options, like I said, as I was jumping into them. The third mention here is going to be this SRD 762 Ti, so please keep that in mind. The interesting thing with this is it doesn't require any type of muzzle brake, which unfortunately makes this worse than its two predecessors, but you can throw this directly on some weapons without having to do a whole lot. So if you're looking for a good recoil and loudness reduction with a little bit of accuracy, this is not a bad option if you want to go the cheap route. So please keep that in mind. This is actually available a little bit sooner, I think, from Peacekeeper. It might be Peacekeeper level 3. So take a look at that. This is kind of a good, third mention for that 762 category. We'll jump over to 5.56 here. By far and away, probably the best is going to be the Saker, although the next couple of options are also very, very close. What's interesting with these is you can't really go wrong with the top two options that I show in the majority of these categories, and then subsequently they just kind of slowly get worse as they go through. You're going to see that 5.56 and 7.62 by 5.1 have like the biggest span of total available sound suppressors and muzzle brake flash hider combos. So keep that in mind when you're looking at this and you're building your weapon. It takes a little bit, especially as you jump into modifying your weapons, to kind of get a hang on this. But like I said, best one here, I think, in my opinion, for this specific category alone, is going to be the Saker. So you got your ASR 51T. This is your flash hider. You're going to be able to pick that up from Peacekeeper at level 3 for $96. In addition, you can then pick up the Saker ASR actual sound suppressor, also from Peacekeeper at level 4 for $572. What you're getting here is you're actually getting a really nice 2% total accuracy boost when you slap these two things together. You're getting 23 recoil reduction, which is really, really solid. You lose 24 ergonomics, which isn't super great, but is not so bad either. But there are definitely some better ergonomics builds if you're looking for that, specifically with your 5.56 weapons. 5.56 weapons, as we said, in 12.12 have not functioned very well, but I would really consider you're probably seeing this suppressor get run quite a bit because it is really, really solid. But 23 total recoil reduction with 2% accuracy boost is really nice. You don't have too bad a durability burn or heat on these as well, and you gain a little bit with the flash hider as well. Probably the next option here, if you're looking for some different options, you really have three when it comes down to it. And the nice part is all three of these run off of the same muzzle brake. So let's show these off really quick here. You have basically the line of Surefires that you're going to be able to jump into. They have some pretty close similar statistics, and there's a couple of reasons you'd want to pick one over the other. Definitely the best out of these is actually the RC2. Interestingly enough, out of this, you can see 10 recoil reduction with only 17 ergonomics penalty. You get minus 24 loudness, which is a nice little note. Comparatively, you can run the Monster if you'd like. Very similar, very close. Recoil reduction at 9. One better from an ergonomic standpoint. It's a little bit louder, or less suppression, if you will. You also have the mini monster, which you're familiar with if you've worked on any of your mechanic tasks for gunsmith. You need this at some point. This suppressor certainly got a lot cheaper on the flea market as we've gotten into the wipe here. Obviously, you're not going to get quite as good of a punch from the statistics on this, but what you lose in recoil reduction and loudness reduction, you gain back in ergonomics. So if you're looking for a really good ergonomics build, probably the mini monster is really your best choice, considering you're only losing 7 to put the suppressor on, and you still get a nice little recoil reduction boost. These all actually fit on. There's two different Surefire flash hiders here. The cool part is they have the same statistics, so buy either one that you find available. Accuracy boost here of 3 with a recoil reduction of 8, making this a total of 18 and 17, I think, respectively. And then with the mini monster, I actually still get 15 recoil reduction with only a penalty of 8 ergonomics. So again, very, very good when you consider kind of the combo of all of these things. And that's a nice little way to build that up. And I'll show you again. You can throw this on any one of these if you so choose to do that, in case you didn't believe me. Your next two really that you have as they kind of finish up your 5.56 options here are going to be your KAC QDC. This comes in both a tan and a gray / black for, I think it's black, technically looks gray to me. This one, probably not a bad choice when you look at it. It's 18 total recoil reduction, +2 to accuracy, which is pretty good. You lose 22 ergonomics. It's very comparable to what we just went over with the Surefire options. You get a little bit better statistics, I think, in these categories, but not a bad option if this is what you have available to you. And probably bringing up the rear is the Rotor 43. This does not have any type of muzzle brake compensator. This is all built in, so you get everything here with the suppressor. You lose some loudness here. The accuracy penalty for me really kills this. You only get 9 recoil reduction for a whopping 22 ergonomics. If you can stay away from it, recommend not running this one. But if it's the only option you have, certainly that's something that you can throw on to get the benefits. But like I said, you got your mini monster, you got your Saker, your RC2, all really, really good options. A lot of comparability inside of this. We are going to jump over to 7.62x39. As we jump into this one, the PBS1. By far and away, I think the best in slot here. The nice part for all of your 7.62x39 sound suppressors is straight to the barrel. No muzzle brake attachment, no additional adapters for these, and that's pretty good. Your PBS1, you're picking this up from Propor at level 3 for 52,512 rubles. You can actually find this cheaper on the flea in like the 40, high 40, low 50s range, so you can save yourself a little bit of money if you want to purchase this from the flea, or if you're trying to get, you know, respective rep from Peacekeeper, or for Propor, excuse me, from Propor, you can purchase that from him. So loudness 28, you are getting an accuracy reduction penalty, but you actually get accuracy reduction penalties with all of these. This is the least worst in that category at -1. You get 12 recoil reduction, 25 ergonomics hit. Not super great when you look at and think about the other statistics, but remember that these are 7.62x39 rifles, so they got they run some big stuff, so you definitely want your recoil reduction. Your next best option here is actually going to be the Hexagon DTKP MK2. Some pretty similar statistics again, a little bit less quiet, a little bit more louder, I don't know. Still get that accuracy reduction penalty, recoil of only -10, but if you need a little bit better of an ergonomics boost, this is definitely a really good secondary option for you. When you stack that up and you take a look, you've got your Hexagon. Hexagon has a ton of these. Be very careful when you're buying this. Make sure you're doing the link search for this, because you can definitely accidentally buy the wrong version of the Hexagon. They all look the same if you're doing a quick glance. Pretty comparable as well. -1, -9, -23. Again, you can see where this comes in a little bit better and where our PBS1 takes the cake here. The last two that I'll mention really quick, and it's unfortunate because I think this DTK, the Zenit DTK 4M, is one of the cooler looking muzzle brakes in the game. It's basically like wrapped in tape, which I think is really funny. But the thing that hurts both of these is the fact that you get 2% accuracy loss. So keep that in mind. 8.5, 9% here. This one, 21, 20 ergonomics. These really both just take the bottom of the barrel. Not terrible suppressors when it comes down to it, but definitely when you compare the top three, you're losing a little bit here. So keep that in mind, but those are your options for 7.62 by 39. We're gonna jump over to the shotgun class here. And you really only have two options here. These are both very, very comparable, but we'll jump in. We'll talk about the Salerno Salvo first. We can make these a little bigger as we jump in. So you're picking this choke adapter here. There's actually two, same statistics. The soonest you can pick this up is for mechanic level 2 for 1344 rubles, which is not bad at all. This choke adapter obviously feeds the Salerno Salvo 12, which is a pretty good suppressor for your 12 gauge shotguns. This you're going to be able to pick up from mechanic at level 4 for 39,928 rubles. I think you can find it maybe slightly cheaper on the flea market, so keep that in mind. What you're getting here is actually a really nice 8% accuracy boost when you compare combine the thread adapter and the sound suppressor here, which is really good. You get minus 19% recoil reduction, which isn't bad for a suppressor for a shotgun. Both of these options really kill shotgun ergonomics just because of how long it extends the barrel, and keep that in mind, especially if you're getting into a close quarters engagement with these. But 28 ergonomics loss is rough. You'll see that with your shotgun build, so keep that in mind. But this is definitely the best option of the two here. Like I said, a total of 19% recoil reduction and a nice little 8% accuracy boost. Your secondary option here is actually your 12 gauge cylinder attached with your hexagon. So not a terrible alternate option. You lose 28 ergonomics as well. You don't get the accuracy boost with this, which is really what pushes this one over the top. You also don't get as good of a recoil reduction because this 12 gauge muzzle adapter doesn't do a whole lot for you. Suppressor here by itself, -1, -16, and 27, you can see. So again, definitely second in class. This is probably a little bit of a cheaper option if you want to go with that, but you really only have the two for your shotguns, so pick whichever one works. I will tell you, I use this one pretty frequently, just because I think availability wise it's a little bit better. You can get it sooner, especially for those shotgun related quests where you need that. We're gonna go ahead and jump over to 9mm here, and then we'll finish up with multi-caliber. The nice part with all of these 9mm ones is that there is no specific requirement for an attachment. So I'm gonna throw a couple of these up at first as we get into your by far your best one is going to be your Osprey 9. You get a handful of these from a couple of quest completions. You can pick the Osprey up from mechanic at level 3 for 31,158 rubles. You can also barter this from mechanic actually at level 2 for a electric drill, which right now on the flea costs you about 30-ish K. So you could save yourself probably a little bit of money and get this sooner if you're a little bit earlier into your progression through the wipe and you don't have mechanic up to level 3. Again, take a look. Mechanic level 2, good barter. You can get this option for yourself. Nice little 2% accuracy boost here with 12% recoil reduction. You lose 17 ergonomics, probably close to the worst in category for ergonomics, but when you consider the other two statistics, this is really good. This one hurts a little bit from a durability burn and a heat perspective, but you do get a nice 8% cooling. I think this just overall performs the best from the 9x19 sound suppressors. Again, please keep in mind with 9x19, if you're running a pistol or some other options, there may be some other ones that you want to take a look at. But when it comes to kind of multi-weapon, this Osprey 9 is going to be your best chance. You do have your Sig Sauer, which I'll show a little side by side here. You get a nice little 1% accuracy boost here. This is definitely a good second option. 8% recoil reduction, a little bit better for ergonomic standpoint at only -15. A little bit better from durability, heat, although you don't get the cooling percentage that you get back with your Osprey 9, so do keep that in mind. Your third option here, if I can get to it, is going to be your Rotor 43. Fortunately, the rotors always just seem to kind of take, the worst in slot categories. Worst thing here, again, you get an accuracy penalty instead of an accuracy boost with the first two. 6.5% recoil reduction, 17 ergonomics. Again, not great across the board, but I shot it out and I show it to you because those are the options that you have. So do keep that in mind. If this is the only one you're running with, it is what it is. If you need some suppression, you can certainly use that. Osprey 9, definitely best in category. Okay, last one we're going to talk about here is multi-caliber category, which is a little bit of a difficult one to talk about. I'm going to start with two that I just want to talk about because these respectively have muzzle brake attachments that don't give any boosts in addition. And these are ones that you're going to see and are going to be pretty familiar with. The other three options that you have in this category are actually better than these, again, because they get a muzzle brake addition for those specific statistics. So please just keep that in mind. So you have two here, the Gemtech 1 and the Solarco Hybrid 46. You have to use this, I think, for a couple of different quests, or at least one quest in the chain here. Definitely between the two, it's kind of a toss-up. The biggest benefit to the Gemtech 1 is actually 2% accuracy improvement. You still get a -9 recoil and only 20 ergonomics hurt here. The Solarco 46 is also not terrible. You don't get any accuracy boost, but no penalty. You get 9.5 recoil reduction. It's a little bit better from an ergonomic standpoint at -17. Respectfully, these aren't, these categories are okay to kind of take a look at. Like I said, these are okay options if you're looking. You really have to do some comparison with what you're going to attach it to. Again, the biggest problem with these ends up being the thread adapters and the muzzle brakes that you're going to put them on typically aren't going to give you those additional statistics. They're just going to make it so that you can throw it on that weapon. So keep that in mind. There are definitely tons of combinations out there, so you might find something that makes these a little bit more viable. But my opinion, not stay away from these, but just kind of do some comparison. When you're looking at your next two best options, I'm going to throw these up just side by side so you can see them. I think your SDN6 here is actually going to be your better option, with the Thunder Beast coming in pretty dang close next to it. So SDN6, this again, multi-caliber suppressor here. You are getting an accuracy hit, but it's not as bad as the Thunder Beast. You got -2 here. You get a 14% recoil reduction with 26 ergonomics hit. Not great. This one's pretty rough when it comes to those statistics, especially ergonomics. However, the muzzle brake adapters that you're going to get certainly help with that. Thunder Beast is one that I use very, very often. Again, I think these two are super, super close. This gives you -3% accuracy, which isn't great. But 13% recoil reduction is pretty good. 23 ergonomics hit. So again, it's really kind of a toss-up on what are you looking for. You're sacrificing a recoil here, a little bit better ergonomics, accuracy here with this one compared to. So this is really a toss-up when we take a look at it. What's important to note again here is you have two different muzzle brakes. I just picked two based on the most popular calibers that you're going to throw this on. Which is your 7.62 by 5.1 and your 5.56 by 45. You can see statistically they're very, very close, but they do have some options and some variability, really based on, again, the weapon platform that you're putting it through. But you can see that you're gaining a nice little accuracy boost, which kind of offsets what you lose here from that perspective. So you actually gain one total between the two. You get an additional 7 or 8% recoil reduction, which puts this into the 20s, which is really nice with only an additional 1 ergonomics hit. You get some positives from the flash hider here to be able to throw on here, and I think these are the better options. So let me quickly just cover these so that you know what you're looking at. When it comes to your Blackout 7.62 flash hider, you're going to be able to pick all this stuff up from Peacekeeper. You can get this one at level 4. You can get the 5.56 version at level 3. The 7.62 version is $43 US. The 5.45 version, 5.56 version, excuse me, is $66. Again, you can pick that up at Peacekeeper level 3. The suppressor itself, you're picking this up from Peacekeeper at level 4 for $617. That is very expensive comparative to the Flea. The one big thing that the SDN 6 sound suppressor gets over the Thunder Beast is the Thunder Beast is not available from a trader. This is a flea market only attachment. You can find it pretty frequently because it comes on a TX. You can actually barter for the TX if you want to get this and the respective attachment for the muzzle brake. But the SDN6 is available again from Peacekeeper level 4. Buy this sound suppressor if you're going to use it on the flea market. It's way cheaper. You're not going to have to spend dollars. If you want to spend dollars for Peacekeeper, great. You're probably not doing that because you can only get it at level 4. So definitely make sure that you're buying this from the flea market. It is way cheaper. Since we have the Thunder Beast up, let me just quickly show you the statistics on its two respective muzzle brakes, do some comparison. Again, very similar when you look at these two, but the 7.62 version, you're getting an accuracy boost of 1, which is not bad. It kind of offsets that to just -2. You get 9 recoil reduction here with only 1 more ergonomics hit. Definitely Ultra Beast, if you're looking for a little bit better ergonomics, that's the way to go for both of these. If you're throwing it on the 5.56, you're getting, again, that 1%. You're losing 8.5 recoil, 2 ergonomics hit, which isn't too terrible. Both of these, the 7.62 version and the 5.56 version of the muzzle brake, you're picking up from Peacekeeper level 3. The 5.56 version here is $66 US. The 7.62 version is $94 US. And again, I talked about this suppressor itself not being able to be bought by a trader. You can find this on the flea market for about 100,000 rubles, so very expensive. Like I said, that kind of nudges me up and over for the SDN. I do still use this very often. Ends up being a really good option if you want to use that. The last option that you have in this multi-caliber one, probably the worst out of the 3, but still a good overall option, is going to be your Wave. You have your 2 muzzle brakes here to take a look at. 5.56 and your 7.62 version. Of course, here what you're getting is you're getting -1 accuracy, which is actually negated out with the muzzle brake, so basically no accuracy penalty. You get -8 recoil from the sound suppressor itself, coupled with 9% from the muzzle brake, which isn't too bad for 17 total. And then not so terrible statistics when it comes to ergonomics, only -18 across the board when you combine the two. Heat recoil, or heat durability burn, cooling, not so great on this one, but this ends up being a pretty good third option if you have access to it. Ergonomics wise is probably the best in slot when it comes to those 3, but when you're looking at total recoil reduction and accuracy, you can see how it kind of stacks up. That was a whole lot. That was a long video. There's a lot of suppressors. My best and final note is when you go to start diving into this, outside of taking my recommendations, which that's all these are at this point, and again, this is only up to date as of 12/12, is just keep in mind the balance of taking a look at those different things. You have to really kind of keep in mind what you want to do with that weapon. A good example here is I really wanted to make like a shorty M4 to see if we could have a good CQB option, because 5.56 is hurt. This isn't great statistics when it comes to total like vertical and horizontal recoil, but I wanted to make sure that I maintained a weapon with really high ergonomics with a short barrel. So if I get into dorms or I get into a resort, I've got a great option for using that. It also looks just really cool. I just wanted to say that. So this is something to take in mind as you go into editing your preset, taking a look at your statistics, is mess around. Don't be afraid to jump in, mess around, move things around, put different barrel attachments on, and see what you're going to end up coming up with. Again, when you look at your 7.62 by 5.1 and your 5.56 especially, you have a lot of considerations between things like this setup comparative to your SDN and its respective sound suppressor, right? So you have to kind of take all of these different things in consideration, right? You're getting 23 recoil here with a 2% accuracy boost, with a 1% accuracy boost, and 22 recoil here, minus 27 ergonomics. What's the ergonomics hit on this? Minus 24. So like these are very, very close when you look at either multi-caliber or even suppressors and muzzle brake combinations across the board for a lot of different weapon platforms. And there's a lot of really good options. Don't feel like you have to always use only the best in slot. What's important, and I showed and I talked about, and I think it's important, that a lot of these are available from traders, but some are not. Some sell out at a quicker quantity than others, so keep that in mind if you're running a lot of kits. or you're trying to build a lot of kits, you either have to plan ahead of time or you have to be willing to spend a little bit more money on the flea market, typically for some of the suppressors as you jump into them. So hopefully this was helpful if you are looking to figure out and have a quick reference guide for what the best in slot is, from at least my recommendations. Again, keep in mind those different things that we played around with, but hopefully this video was helpful for you. It's been one I've wanted to make for a while, and I hesitated on it because it is daunting. There's a lot of research that went into this one. As more suppressors, as more muzzle brakes get added, quantities for these things are going to change, and it's very surprising. The last thing I will note is make sure you are taking a look at that muzzle brake, not just the suppressor itself, because that is a huge portion of how good or how bad the total combo of that package ends up being. So if you like this, we have some more teaching Tarkov videos. We do a lot more from a couple of different things. We just did a 4 grips version of this. I'm probably going to be doing a pistol grip video here for 12-12 pretty soon. So if you're interested in any of that, make sure hit that subscribe button for us. Take a look at some of our playlists. We do hardcore series. We do an escape series, which is a solo playthrough on a standard account. We do some fun challenge videos as well, plus some just a whole mix of stuff. We do news. We do a lot of stuff Tarkov related. We're doing 5 to 6 videos a week if you're interested in soaking up some new Escape from Tarkov content. Put the quick plug in, as I've already started. Like, comment, subscribe. If you want to support the channel, those are the 3 best ways to do that. Let us know how this helped you. Let me know if I missed anything down in the comments below too. I'm a human and prone to error, so but hopefully this was, again, a good, valuable guide for you. Hit that like button for me, show some appreciation. That helps me know that this was helpful to you. And again, if you want to subscribe, we really do appreciate that. As of this, we do have some subscriber goals for the year, trying to hit that 10K mark. So every subscription counts, and we really appreciate all the support. Hopefully you enjoy some more of the additional content that we have on the channel. In addition to that, we do stream over on Twitch Fridays and Saturdays, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, usually on Sundays and throughout the week as we can. As well, that link is in the description. We've got our Twitch, our Twitter, and our Discord. Discord and Twitch and Twitter, all our socials. If you want to join us, stay up to date with the channel, Discord's definitely the best place to do that, and we'd love to see you on stream, answer any questions, maybe run some raids, viewer kits, all that good stuff as well. So we'd love to have you over there. So think about giving us a follow. With that, I'll close out. I've been Doc. We are the Average Gamer Guys. As always, thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next Escape from Tarkov video. Peace.